All right, what's up? Hey, everyone. Welcome to Simply Cyber Firesides. I'm your host, Two Thumbs, all happy, Gerald Auger, and I'm thrilled to have you all joining us today for what promises to be an enlightening discussion about one of the most crucial transitions in any InfoSec pro's career, the journey into cybersecurity leadership. For those tuning in for the first time, welcome to the party, pal. Simply Cyber Firesides is where we bring you unfiltered, authentic conversations with the brightest minds in cybersecurity. And today we're diving deep into what it really takes to move from technical roles into leadership positions, the challenges you might face, and how to navigate them successfully. As Naomi, our guest today, is going to point it out, the good, the bad, and the UGLY. You ain't got no alibi, you ugly. So we're going to cover it all. This is a live show, and that means you are part of the conversation. I see you, Regine Franklin and Taekwon Gong, Cyber from Fire, FedEx, Space Tacos, DJ BSEC already in that leadership role. Let's go. It's going to be lit today. So whether you are currently in leadership or aspiring to be a leader, or you're just curious, trying to get that information ahead of time, I encourage you, I implore you to drop your questions in chat throughout our discussion. I will bring them on stage. I will bring them. I'll facilitate to Naomi, and we will have a impactful conversation. The best conversations really do happen when we engage together, so don't be shy. If you're wondering about something, chances are other people are too in chat. Today, I'm incredibly excited to welcome someone who has not only successfully made this transition herself, but is actively helping others bridge the gap between technical expertise and leadership excellence. Naomi Buckwalter is currently the Senior Director of Product Security at Contrast Security, where she brings both technical depth and leadership vision to the role. She's also the founder and executive director of the Cybersecurity Gatebreakers Foundation, an organization that's reshaping how we think about developing and mentoring cybersecurity talent at all levels. Her leadership journey and expertise have earned her significant recognition, including being named a SANS Top 10 Summit speaker in 2022, and she was a finalist for Cybersecurity Woman of the Year. That's amazing. I love it. She holds both CISO certs and CISM credentials, that's CISM, making her uniquely qualified to speak about this transition from technical role to security leadership. Also, just as a private aside, she's definitely GRC Mafia, but she has like a technical, engineering, software development kind of background. So I definitely vibe with her on that. Absolutely love her story. And what makes Naomi's perspective particularly valuable is her commitment not just to succeeding in leadership herself, but actively working to create those pathways for others. We're going to talk about her foundation a little bit later. It's going to be epic. But through this foundation, her the work she does there, her public speaking, her LinkedIn learning course, she's helping build the next generation of cybersecurity leaders. So do me a favor, chat. If you're a squad member, drop your Oprah emotes, as we do typically to welcome our guests on the stream, and help me join in welcoming Naomi Buckwalter to Simply Cyber Firesides. Let's go get her. What's up, Naomi? How are you?
What's up, Jerry? Gosh, that was such a cool intro. You're good at this.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean, all those accolades and statements were just objective facts about you and your amazing career, Naomi.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. So I did cover a whole bunch of these things, but since we are talking about that transition and the career growth and trajectory, if you could just, for the audience, 30 seconds level set, because I know you, but not everyone knows you. Can you kind of just give us the high points of that career journey from that technical piece into that leadership role?
Yeah, definitely. So technical background, I was a full stack developer coming out of college, where I majored in computer engineering, did a minor in math over at engineering school, Stevens in Hoboken, New Jersey. Got my first job at Vanguard Group, a large financial company, worked there for about 12 years doing full stack development and application security and security architecture. So from there, I took another security engineering role. And from there, I took my first security leadership role. I've held about 4 or 5 different roles now in security leadership, including product security, which is like what I do now. I've done everything from CISO level stuff, even without the title, you could still do that stuff.
Yeah, isn't that
different
common,
roles, different size companies. Yeah. And so since 2016, I've been a leader. I've hired people, I've fired people, and I know the good, bad, and ugly of security leadership. So let's go. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. So just to kind of get off the rip, because we were talking about this prior to going live. And many of you in chat right now, if you're earlier in your career and you're still kind of climbing the ladder, one of the things that I thought going up in my career was like, oh, I want to be a CISO. I want to be at the top of the mountain. Naomi had similar vibes, but the reality is the job is a little bit different than kind of the way that the movie trailer portrayed it as. Why do you think it is that people are so driven to seek that leadership role, that accomplishment of that role?
I think it just comes down to human nature. You want to be the best of the best, right? At
Mm-hmm.
least it depends on your priorities in life. Like if you've always been a driven person and you've always been told you're smart and you're a go-getter and you've got potential, like it's going to be ingrained in you from an early age that you can do it. And so in your mind, in the back of your mind is like, why not just be king of the nerds, queen of the nerds? That's the top, right? Like, and so it's so funny that you bring this up where we've seen the mountaintop and we can tell you from the mountaintop, all you see is like, can we curse on this show? I don't know.
You can, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, you can see all the shit just everywhere, and you can't do anything about it because you're just maybe too far removed from some of the things, and you try to do everything, and you just burn the heck out. So we can talk about that too. All the inevitable burnout,
Inevitable burnout, yeah. So
inevitable.
what, I mean, I guess just to kind of take it then, you helped so many people break in, so many people level up. To people who are like, Naomi, I'm thinking, like at least, okay, so back in the day, a million years ago when I didn't have gray, I worked for big four consulting firms, and you would go up this technical track and they would just be maximizing the value of you, like for, contract work. But at some point you reach a fork in the road of like, do you want to stay technical or do you want to go management? And then like, basically you almost cap out on the technical path. If money's your interest, if, prestige is your goal. So what are your kind of takeaways, or what do you tell people when they're like, I don't know, like, should I get into management? Or what do you think about it? Like if they're management curious.
Oh my God. Oh, well, I have a whole thing about this. Should I go into it? Are you management curious? Like maybe this actually describes you if you're a little restless in your role, or even how I was in 2015 where I'm literally looking at my leader and I'm like, I could probably do that. Like what he's doing, he's not doing so good. Like you notice all the bad things in your leadership. Yeah, I could do that. Like if that's you, if that describes you, or you're just a little bored, you're probably just, am I fit for this? So maybe that's what this is. Like I ask people, what do you want? What do you think? First of all, what do you think you want? And
Yep.
how does that align with what you think the role is? So in their minds, they think it's the same thing, but then be like, aha, that's where you might be like, let me give you some evidence why you might be a little wrong. It depends on what they say. If they say something like, yeah, I think, it's a lot of politics, a lot of meetings. I'm like, yes, there is. But what about like incident response? Do you think you're still doing that kind of stuff? Be like, oh no, I thought that was someone. But they'd be like, aha, like that's where you get to do that too, right? So I get to have those conversations sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess you do kind of get to drive your adventure, but you do. At least one thing that I was always reluctant to was to take on staff, because you mentioned it already. You hired people, you fired people. There can be, not even like icky conversations, but like you're dealing with like human issues, right? So staff isn't producing, so then you got to intervene, and you're taken away from building your infosec program or executing on your actual work to deal with these kind of unexpected kind of turbulent situations. As far as your thoughts, is that a pro, a con, an ugly around having to take on that human element? Because it's not just about leading the infosec program, but it's
Yeah.
also leading people.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of the huge part to this. When we think CISO, what does that person actually mean in the year of our Lord 2024? Like maybe back in the day when it was more technical and it was set under the CIO, the Chief Information Officer, when companies still had them. It was more technical, but now what does it mean? What is a CISO? What is a security leader? What does that mean? What I'm seeing in this industry is you have to be more people-centered. You have to have emotional intelligence and empathy and kindness and like business chops, the ability to communicate well. Your body language has to be on point. You have to be seen as an executive with a seat at the table if you ever want to get anything done. So there's a lot more to it than just technical. So if you're
Yeah.
sitting here and you're like, yeah, I love my technical job. I'm really good at it. And there's so much more I could be learning. Right. And maybe management isn't ready for you yet. Maybe you're not ready for management yet. Like maybe in the future. But if you're ever kind of burned out on the technical, or you're seeing like, hey, there's an opportunity here for more growth, more learning, more career paths for me, and you're seeing that long-term thing and you want to go for it, like that's a good question to ask yourself. But know that you will have to be flexing different muscles than you might be currently doing today, which is you're doing less of the technical and then more of the people stuff. So more of the communication and managing through others. It's harder in a different way. And I will say there's almost no playbook for it. There's some things you can read, but yeah, you just got to go for it,
Yeah. So one talk that Naomi has that many of you in chat have been directed to go watch by me multiple times is your talk. You've done it a couple times, but it was at Wild West Hackin' Fest 2023 around, I forget the title, but it's basically how to talk to DevOps people as an InfoSec pro in order to collaborate and get things done. It's a phenomenal talk, and it's obviously rooted in somebody who worked in DevOps on the other side. So having both sides of that's super valuable. But one of the thesis statements of that talk was like, kind of speaking their language and understanding and empathizing with what matters to them. Since we're talking about people, Naomi, I'm curious, do you find, and you're not going to get canceled on this show, so don't worry. We do have like Gen Z and millennial and some older people as well, right? Do you find doing management, doing leadership of different kind of generational groups of people has interesting dynamics and I'll just to qualify it. I know like people from the, people who are like 60 and older prefer a phone call, not always, but prefer a phone call, 50 to 6 or 40 to 60, they prefer email and then, text message and then DM or whatever. So like, what kind of contrast or things do you see that has to be further divided in order to be effective in leading different age groups?
Dude, that's such a great question. Because I was thinking the other day, I think only millennials, when they do their chats, like our chats, I'm an elder millennial, by the way. I was born like probably way older than you, Jerry. But
stop. I'll just
no,
tell
I'm
you,
so
I was
old.
born in 1979. You can,
okay. All right. You got me beat. You got me beat by a couple of years. But I will say, like, millennials are the only ones who use LOL in chat. Like, you go ahead and look at all your chats and see how many people use LOL as the end statement in any of their DMs. It's hilarious. I'm like, oh my God, that's so true. It's only millennials that do it. Like Gen Z, absolutely not. And they will not use GIFs. Like if you use a GIF, that's a dead giveaway that you're an older millennial. Like it's so funny. There's so many. Yeah. And so you're 100% right. Different generations do communicate differently. And I sit kind of right on the border, right? So Gen X, millennial, right where I was born. I went the year away.
Yeah, I think they call it. We get a special designation, Zennial.
Zennial,
we get a special Zennial,
right? Yeah, or elder millennial, right? So I straddle both generations, where I know what Gen X is kind of the way they do it, a little bit more pessimistic. Millennial is maybe less so pessimistic, but we are more of that technology native, because we came of age when that stuff was happening, all the internet and the new tech and all the fun stuff like computers, and we saw it from a very early age. And then what we see in the following generation, which is what Gen Z, the following generation, they've always had tech, they've always had internet, and it's always been fast. And now even Gen Alpha, we've got the iPads in their hands at like age 2, right? It's so every generation is different. 100%, you're right. And if you're going to be a security leader, it's just one of those things. You have to understand who you're talking to. And that's part and parcel of being a good communicator, is knowing your audience. And so unfortunately, Jerry, I don't really know your audience, but I can only assume they're here because they care about their career and their opportunities. And that's awesome. And thank you for spending time to talk to us. I'm so excited. So please put your questions in the chat, just because I can't talk for you. So if you have ideas and questions for us, happy to answer them.
Yeah, 100%. Drop those questions in chat. Put a Q in front so it's easier for me to see it with my old Zennial eyes.
I know, I need glasses now.
I will say that the chat's popping off with a lot of memorable things. People in here talking about their sidekick. You remember the sidekick?
I wasn't old enough for that. Was I? No, I wasn't young enough for that. So it was a cell phone, but you turn it sideways and you could like flip the screen out. Yeah.
It was hot back in the day. I think Nokia made it. Did you have a pager?
Okay. No, I never had a pager, but I definitely had the flip phones, and I definitely had the T9 texting game thing, like the worm, whatever it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have the Nokia bar phone, the Snickers bar phone?
Yes.
Like, okay, I feel like that Nokia phone, like it
I want
it
that phone.
demands to label you as a certain age because
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
that thing was the hottest in the at the
Dude,
time.
I want the phones to just be dumb now. I don't need internet. I just need literally like email and text for now. And then maybe like 2FA. That's the only things that I want on my phone right now. I don't want anything else.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
100%.
Luddite.
So what's the best way to communicate with you? Do you find text is best or
Oh, yeah.
email,
Yeah,
phone
text.
call?
I think text is best for work stuff because
Mhm,
that's pretty much where our company lives. We are all distributed. And so you have to be really clear and concise with what you're asking. And honestly, more is better when you're communicating. You don't want to leave out information thinking the other person's going to just assume they know what you're talking about or they can infer the thing that you actually need. Like you don't say one thing and just hope they get it, like ask them the question, right? Like be really clear in your communication. And that's 100% of the time that you should be doing that. So yes, I do text better than speaking clearly. When I text, it's a lot. When I write, communications a lot easier, and especially with generative AI now. You can
mhm.
throw that thing into ChatGPT or Google Gemini, and that thing is going to just spit out the nicest prose you've ever seen.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's good. I mean, you can even have it like write it in the style of Eminem, or you know what I mean.
Oh,
Like you could do whatever you want now.
talking about elder millennials, like, dude, that brings me back. All right.
Yeah,
Massive
yeah.
respect to Eminem. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So there's we have a bunch of different people in the community, but Justin Gold and Casually Joseph are two moderators that are put it this way. Casually Joseph's mom was born after I was born. All right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just to put it in perspective, so we usually float things past them for the sniff test on Gen Z. So
Uh-huh.
let us know. I know Justin's here. If you
No, they're
mentioned,
probably like Eminem. Who's that? Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I will say, I asked my 12-year-old the other day. He saw, Snoop Dogg has basically reinvented his career, right? So he's like, "Oh, look, Snoop Dogg." I'm like, "Oh yeah, Snoop's cool." I'm like, "Do you know Ice Cube or Dr. Dre?" And he's like, "No." Like, what's a Dr. Dre? I'm like, "Oh my god,
is
son."
that like a Dr. Pepper?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly,
yeah. Is that a
exactly.
fruit drink? Oh man. Okay, yeah. So, but what's interesting is you bring up a good point. It's like who is currently in line next to be leaders? I would say it's more of the Gen Z, like the elder Gen Z. It's not the newer Gen Z. They're still too new to the industry. I can't see them earning that director or above role, the executive level role. Not yet, anyway. It's not their time. It's really those elder Gen Zs or maybe your younger millennials, people in their early 30s, late 20s. I could see them being the next generation. They're probably done doing the senior stuff and they've seen enough tech and all the problems that come with it, building out tech stacks and stuff, that they're probably ready to take on leadership roles. I could see that. And in fact, companies I've worked for, that's absolutely the generation that's taking that first jump into management.
Oh,
So,
that's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely elder, like elder Gen Z. I don't know what they call themselves. Old Gen
Elder
Zers.
Gypsy. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
how
that's
old are they? Yeah,
I don't
late
know.
20s.
Gen Z people, how do you identify the older people who act more millennial than you? Let us know. We got a couple questions coming in that are really
Do it.
pointed. I love it. Cyber Pappy, who by the way ended his last message with LOL, so kind of
See?
self-identifying himself,
Dude,
right? So
10
he
out of
says his
10, I
job,
guarantee you. Millennial.
his workplace has no CISA role, and he answers to the CIO as a cyber manager. It sounds like he's
See?
basically the de facto CISO without budget.
Mhm.
How can I move up to a deluxe position in the sky? Ooh, nice. A little, what is that, 227 or you know what I'm talking about? Is that Sanford? No, that's an older. I'll pull it. If you answer the question, I will pull it.
We're so old, Jerry. Come
I
on.
know.
Like, none
Yeah.
of the references, they're just right over their heads. So, sorry, what was his name? Who answered?
Cyber Pappy.
Cyber Happy. All right.
He's basically
Cool
cyber
handle.
manager, not CISO, but he's reporting to the CIO, and he wants to know
Yeah.
how can he upgrade his position.
Yeah. So I got some bad news for you. They don't see you as an executive at your company currently. They just don't. Because if they have already, they should have already been including you in either executive level meetings or decisions, budgets. Uh, you don't have a budget, right? So clearly this company probably doesn't see your potential yet. You either need to move or you need to have a frank conversation with somebody that could do something about it, probably your boss. Now, here's what's interesting in companies that CISOs or security leaders report to a CIO, and this is not companies with a CTO, by the way. This is literally just internal IT, CIO. For me, CTO is more of like the product engineering, the things that you sell, the software that you might sell. So this is a CIO, the track internal IT, right? So essentially, security is reporting to IT. In no world that I know of where is a CIO going to give up that responsibility of security and let you be his peer or her peer. It almost never happens, because think about it. The CIO right now is helping make all those decisions for you. And they're like, well, security is not as important as rolling out business functionality or doing this other thing. I want to spend my budget on this other thing, not security tools, right? In no world are they going to be like, oh yeah, I'm happy to give up that land and give that to somebody else who, by the way, was my direct report 10 days ago. Like, that doesn't happen. If it does happen, it's very rare. All right. I haven't seen it yet. And so what you want is cyber happy. You want to find a company that values you. So you either can get a mentor that can help push you and help grow and flex those muscles to be more executive like, because currently your company doesn't see you that way. I know it's tough to hear that, but someone's got to tell you. And obviously I don't know who you are. And maybe you do have that executive presence. And it takes a long time to really develop that. You have to be good at just speaking and your public presence, your body language. There's a lot to it. Can you still see my screen? I just went on screensaver here.
Yeah. What do you want? You want to share something? Or
I'm going to flash the first book for you guys. I have a bunch of books.
Oh, we got a book recommendation coming in hot. Let's go.
I do. I read a book. I read maybe a dozen books a year, but this is the one that's most helpful, right? It's like just a little bit of not an anthology, but just an index of different body language things, all about how. Yeah, it's a former FBI agent.
Oh, Joe, no, yeah. Oh, that's the guy who he blew up with how to is that Don't Split the Difference? That guy?
Oh, I don't know about that one. Yeah. I don't think so. But this is body language. So if you want to be seen as more executive, right, you need to have the body language of an executive. And even when you're on camera like this and you're not in person's way more important. But even on camera, you need to be able to speak and have the presence of an executive. And I'm telling you, that's the number one thing that's holding a lot of people back who are trying to break into management, is they just don't have the ability to orate. They can't speak in a clear manner. They either talk too fast and people who are listening to them just can't keep up, or what I think is more, the body language isn't there yet. So it's something you can learn, something you can practice. Get somebody to tell you what you're doing wrong. And I love this, actually, Jerry. Like, you want to ask your enemies what they think of you. And then especially people that you work with, somebody doesn't like you, right? Like, ask them, what can I be doing better at my role? Or what can I do better to influence your team or your decision, whatever it is. And they will literally lay it on you. They will tell you everything that you need to work on. And you just take notes and you're like, okay, yep.
It's that meme with the guy coming from behind the tree. He's like, oh yeah, like that. I've been waiting for you to ask me to tell you what you suck at.
Yeah, 100%. So I've done it where accidentally I was texting somebody who didn't like me, right? It's a long story. And I'm like, I always thought you were cool, but I just get some weird vibes from you. Is there something you need to tell me? Is there something weird? And she just lays it out on me, like literally 300 words in a text message of like everything that she doesn't like about me. I'm like, she's got really good points.
Yeah.
So it helped me reflect and be more self-aware. And that's 100% something that if you want to jump into that next level, that self-awareness, wow, know who you are, know what you want to do.
Yeah, no, I love it. Cyber Pappy, some good advice there. Also, I would just say one small thing to add, because Naomi is correct, right? Like, there's no way, it's the Game of Thrones in corporate America, so they're not going to relinquish power to you unless there's a reason. But if they get fired or they move, there will be a very small window of opportunity if you have the right network and again, Game of Thrones, to be able to, hey, instead of hiring the CIO to do all the things,
You're going to be doing it until they hire someone. So
I'll handle security until you hire someone, and then basically just take it. That's an advanced technique, but it's if you really don't want to quit where you work and you want to be a CISO. To that point, though, Naomi, Kansas City's own Toasty Pops comes in and says, whoa, Cyber Pappy, be mindful. Getting promoted into management is not all sunshine and roses. So we talked a little bit about this earlier, but maybe Cyber Pappy is dodging a bullet by not getting made into CISO. What's you'd mentioned earlier, like you're looking at all the crap that's out there, but I guess you want to just do the high points of the good, the bad, and the UGLY as I laid out in the intro?
I love it. I love it. All right. So I just want to make one extra point for
Yeah.
Cyber Happy here. Like, obviously, if I didn't answer that question the way he wanted or she wanted me to, and I get that, here's something you can do is when you are speaking to your boss, at least ask for an updated job description, because then you could see exactly what you're responsible for and what's expected of you, and maybe even the skills that are required. And so when you look at that, you can compare it to a job description of a CISO or a director or whatever it is that you're a VP or whatever like that next level for you is, and then just see where the differences are, because that's probably the most practical thing is what's your current job description and how does that compare to somebody of a role that you want to do, and either get your job description updated so it reflects more closely to the VP or the direct, whatever it is, and therefore you're working on those skills, or it reflects better on what you're actually doing. Like, that's another thing. So, and that's just ammunition you can give to the higher ups and just say, hey, look at this. I'm already doing the role of an executive. Please compensate me, or don't say please, just like compensate me, or change my title, or move me under someone else. Like that, those are conversations you must have. Otherwise, who's going to do it for you? You are the person in charge of your career, by the way. It is not your boss. It is not the executives in your team. It is you. And if you are thinking, you're sitting there thinking someone else has 90% of responsibility to move me up and to promote me, it's like, no, you're already failing at this. Play the game. Play the game. It is a game. Right, Jerry? It is a game. Corporate
It is a game. It's Game of Thrones. I mean, it's less murderous and conniving, but you know, it's real. It's negotiations. It's relationships, and you know, networking. Networking is so valuable.
I hate when people say that, though. Yeah.
What's that? You hate when people say that?
It's so nebulous. Like, people think, just network. It's like, I almost never tell people to network, because it's something different to everybody. Like, either you could be good at networking, which to me is one thing, or they were like, I do network. I go to all these things and I'm here networking right now on YouTube, right? Like, what you need really is just more opportunities. So open yourself up to things, like say yes to things, either volunteer or put yourself in a conversation where things can happen, or raise your hand, do a land grab, something within your own job, take more responsibility, just do it and just see what happens. Because only good things can happen when you have more opportunities to do. So as long as you kick ass in that thing, people are going to notice that. Either you can put that on your resume for the next job, or someone's going to notice that and be like, you know what? Cyber Happy is amazing at this thing. I think they should be in charge of securing our pipelines, CI/CD, whatever it is. Like, give them the opportunity to do the thing, right? Because they're already doing it. So anyway, that is not even answering your question, Jerry. You asked about the good and the bad.
So Rod wants to know, give us your like behind the scene best practices, kind of like your cheat sheet kit for briefing the board. We got metrics. You use FUD. You grab the latest story from a competitor.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
So there's actually frameworks for this. The one that I really like, it's from a guy named, I just slipped it, Life of a CISO by Dr. Eric Cole. He was a former SANS instructor. He's authored several books. He's a expert witness testimony, whatever it is in court, like for cybersecurity stuff. He's amazing. But his framework is literally like, really have three things. It's like, what are the breaches and incidents that we've had? How much did it cost us? That's one. Next is like, from those breaches and incidents, what kind of attacks do we see? And what are we doing to mitigate that? To make sure that it doesn't happen again, or to reduce the risk of it happening again, or to reduce the impact to the business. And if you remember, impact is just a formula. You can actually bring it down to a dollar value. You could say the probability of something happening multiplied by how much dollars it would cost if that thing was to happen, right? Either to fix it or to buy a tool that does something, whatever it is. And so then you can from there organize, sort by descending from the amount of money that it would cost, and like pick the top three things. And so that third thing that you should show to your board is like, here are the top three things that we're trying to mitigate these these risks, or these incidents that we've had in the past. And these are our priorities for the quarter. 1, 2, 3. And it's way more clear for the board to understand this, because they can see the dollar value in potential loss to the business, right? Impact. And then they could see they can understand this is an incident, this thing happens, or this thing might happen. This is actually a very huge probability of this thing happening. So they could see you go boom, boom, boom. They have their priorities in order. They have the data to back it up. And then you can go into a little more detail. You can actually say, here is the activity for this quarter to address priority number 1, number 2, number 3. And next quarter, we're going to follow up on this. And then you could show success every quarter and be like, hey, last time we talked about priority number 1, we're going to reduce the probability of this risk happening by purchasing a tool. And this is how we're going to do it, right? So you're going to show the data of improvement. So when you say like a KPI or an OKR, don't just jump into that, because they're not going to understand that right away. You need to tie it back to something that's actually impactful for the business. Actual loss of dollars to the business, opportunity cost, right? Lost revenue. You've got churning customers, whatever, what have you. You need to tie it back to something that the business actually cares about. And 100% of the time, the business is going to care about the money. All right.
Yeah, it's all about, we got a sounder for that. Straight cash, homie. Straight cash, homie. I don't know if you remember Randy Moss saying that. Yeah, exactly. Dude, the business, they don't care about 0 days or how many, next gen firewalls, could block whatever. It's like, how much money is this going to cost me?
And if you're talking about that to executives, they're tuning you out. They're tuning you out because like security is a service for the business. We don't exist without the business anyway. So if you're coming to them with all this technical speak, like they're going to be like, what is this? We don't need you to talk technical to us. Talk business to us because we understand that. And then you have a seat at the table because you're talking the same language. Comes down to communication, talking, you understand the audience, you understand what they're caring about, you're understanding what's driving the business at the time, and you understand what their like top priorities are. Hey, we want to release this product, blah, 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 blah. Here's how we can help you with that. Right? So like you need to, if you want to be seen as an executive, you have to start understanding the priorities of the business. Because if you're only speaking technical, and you can think back to your most recent conversation, guys, you can do this. Think back to the most recent conversation you had with anybody in the C level or VP level or whatever, and ask yourself, did I speak just technical or did I tie it back to something that they actually care about?
Yeah. And I would also throw on top of that, if you're only talking technical to them, they're literally going to see you beneath you is not the right way to put it. It's not like you're a lesser person, but they're going to see you as a cog in the machine that is driving the business. They're not going to see you as a peer or as someone that they should have a conversation with. They're going to just say like, go talk about that somewhere else. Like I'm not. So it actually, even though you're probably bringing good information to them, it's going to be harmful to the overall what you're trying to achieve. So we got a couple more questions in here. I'm loving this, by the way. This is taking you back to more of like your roots, Naomi, as far as what you really got passion for. How can you break into vulnerability management? And if you want to spend a hot minute talk, I'm not saying you did vulnerability management, but I know you like helping people.
No, we all do. It's 100% what we do. We do risk management. Information security is risk management, security risk. Management, yeah, that's all it is. So for me, information security is like the overall umbrella. There's kind of things here. Information security is a whole thing, right? It's a whole thing. Venn diagram is a circle. Then inside that, you've got cybersecurity, which is more of the technical stuff that you have in public-facing servers and the tech and the networks and stuff like that. Information security risk is not just cybersecurity risk, right? Cybersecurity risk. All cybersecurity risk is information security risk, but not the other way around. And then within cybersecurity risk, you've got something I call IT security, which is just security things for IT, like internal business functions. The things that you use, the software and systems you use to run your business, that's IT. And the IT security that goes with that, that's IT security. So within cybersecurity, you have IT security. So that's in my mind. All right, so now I forget what the question is.
How do you break into vulnerability management?
There you go. Okay, so it depends, right? So vulnerability management, you're managing risk. That's another way of putting it. You're managing the vulnerabilities, you're managing risk. If you want to break into it, at least you can do this within your own, where you sit today. And this is true for every single role in cybersecurity. If you want to break into that next level, do some of that role today in what you can do in the scope that you have with the responsibilities that you have. Try to do it today. So for what you're doing today, I don't know what this person's doing, but if you know your team has some risk, if there's some shadow IT, some systems that the security team might not know about, or a configuration of a system that puts your data and systems at risk, and maybe the team doesn't, like the security team isn't aware of, you can tell the security team these things. They love that. We love that. We love it when a non-security person comes up to us and tells us things that we should care about. Where is the hidden risk? Help us manage this vulnerability. Either accept the risk, which not great. We don't want to just do nothing. Depends on what the risk is, obviously, but you want to try to mitigate it, try to reduce the impact of that thing happening, making bad things happen to your business, reduce the probability of that thing happening, right? So you can help right now where you're sitting. Tell the security team the things that you see, the issues that might be in the data and systems and like the processes that you currently have. And trust me, there's always something that could be better, especially from a security perspective. For example, if you know you are working on something super sensitive within your company, confidential, you don't want to share it with anyone, and you just noticed, hey, I can actually click the share button in this software that I'm using and share it out to the internet. Hey, security team or IT security team, since it's an IT function. Hey, IT security team, are you aware that we can click on this button and share this potentially sensitive, confidential information out to the public internet? And I guarantee you, they'd be like, oh my God, I didn't know that. Hopefully they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Let me try to fix it. And then you can say, aha, I'm so glad I brought this up. Here are 3 other places we can do the same thing where we can accidentally or on purpose, right, share this information out to somebody who shouldn't have this information. And there you go. You're already helping the security team do vulnerability management. Now, vulnerability management is more than just like telling them what the problem is. You need to like manage the actual fix of it too. You have to like categorize and prioritize it. That's what vulnerability management is. It's a little boring. I don't know anyone who actually wants to do it. But as part of any good security professional, you are doing vulnerability management at any level. You're either helping with the mitigation or you're helping with making sure those vulnerabilities never exist in the first place, kind of thing.
I love it. Now, there's a question from Taekwon Gong that's from earlier that I can't find in the chat, so I'm just going to ask it. Taekwon Gong, if I'm getting it wrong, also Kansas City zone. If I get it wrong, just hit, put in chat. But at his current business, he's not necessarily trying to get into leadership, but he feels just like a number. He doesn't feel seen. He doesn't feel like it's having any type of impact. And it sounds like he's almost getting apathetic with the business and the mission and, just punch in, punch out, whatever. What do you say as a leader to staff, or how do you curb this type of behavior for the staff that report to you around not feeling like a number, or how would you even help Taekwon Gong?
By the way, I think you're saying that right. Taekwon Gong. That's a cool name. I love that.
Yeah.
So do like a 10-second recap of that question because it was a little long and then I lost track because I was paying attention
Okay,
to
so
the chat.
Taekwon Gong is working at a business and feels like a number.
He feels like a number. Okay.
So 2-part question. 1, what do you say to him to help him deal with that? And then 2, as a leader, what do you recommend? Maybe people who are in chat right now that are leaders or will be leaders can take this lesson learned from you right now and apply it to make their staff feel more appreciated and enriched.
Yeah. All right. So I know it's a little harsh, but you are a number. Like you really are. You're replaceable. Everyone is. Even leaders are replaceable, and people get fired all the time. But that's also a mindset that you have. So if you're sitting there thinking, "Oh, I'm a number. I don't matter," like then that's true. Whatever you're telling yourself is true. But if you take the mindset of like, I could feel like a number, but I could either do something about it or I could stop feeling this way. I could think of something else that will positively affect my mindset and therefore create a better environment for me. So if you're sitting there being all miserable, like whose fault is that? That's your fault. That's not someone else making you miserable. You choose to be miserable, right? And I hate this whenever I'm in a company and then I just hear people complaining. It's a little bit like the political environment that we're in now. It's like, you can complain, but then do something about it. Either find a solution or at least work towards a better situation. So if you're sitting in your company and you're like, yeah, I'm just a number. Like, yeah, that's actually true. Everyone is. But you can either take that and feel bad about yourself or take that and do something. Like either improve your situation by making your environment better for everyone and yourself, or leave, do something else. Totally. You don't have to be there. You're not a prisoner. You're not forced to work at that company. Just leave. Do something that you want to be at. But then don't take that mindset and think that the grass is greener some other side. The grass is greener wherever it's watered. So if you're not watering your own grass, of course it's going to be brown. You need to like put in the effort, man. You can't just be like, all right, yeah, I'm a number. Okay, yeah, that's true. But what are you going to do about it? Right. And you can take that mindset anywhere. And I will tell you, like most leaders love this. Anyone who's humble and hungry and smart, those 3 things will get you so far, so much farther. If you are trying to get to that leadership track, humble, hungry, and smart, you're going to be chef's kiss I think that's more of a Gen Z thing. Chef's kiss.
Oh yeah,
The leaders are
Salt
gonna
Bay.
love you.
I think
Yes,
Salt Bay is a thing too.
Salt Bay. Yeah, that is Salt Bay. I know it's a meme, but like I don't really get it. I don't get
I
it.
don't know if it's a thing either. I just tried to make it a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing now. It is a thing. Yeah. Great questions, guys. It's good.
Yeah, no,
We
this
never
is
got back
awesome.
to the good, the bad, and the ugly, by the way.
Yeah, let's do it. Go through, crush it. You want me to bring up
Everyone's
the
just
slide?
saying hi to each other in the chat. Everyone's so friendly. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, the Simply Cyber community hashtag Team SC. They're a wonderful group. I love being part of it, frankly. So
Yeah.
you want to talk about good, bad, and ugly?
Yeah. So we'll start with the good. There's like 4 things that I could see being good here. And you can share the screen. We're on slide 8
Yep, here we
if you
go.
want. Cool.
Coming in hot.
Check this out. We are so production values. Huge. Look at this. Oh, we're all right. Just keep hitting right.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna let you.
Impacts.
I
Oh,
was helping
can I
you
control
deliver it.
you? I don't think I can control. All right. So first thing is definitely the impact you can make as a leader. You shape the security posture of your organization. You're not just doing the hands-on keyboard, configuring firewalls and patching stuff. You're like building a culture of security. Everyone follows your culture. You are setting that culture, and it's really cool to see. So you can start really your culture is just nothing. And then by the time you have matured your culture, you can be proud of something, which I really like to see. All right. So next one, strategic thinking. You get to work with like complex situations and people and challenges and customers. You get to think more strategically and how it affects more than just your little silo. You get to collaborate, which I really like. So that's a really good one. Next one, mentorship. One of my favorites here, it's you get to help other people grow in their roles. So if part of the spark that you have inside you is not just to be like king of the nerds and make a lot of money, you can actually help somebody else in their role and growth in their career and show them what good information security looks like. I think that is super powerful because then you're leaving your mark for generations to come, right? So I like that. And then last thing, growth. You get a world of opportunities. If you want to lead your security program or be a CISO, start your own cybersecurity company. When you have leadership experience, you have opened the doors to other things that you might not even be aware of, that you might not even consider. And it's honestly a chance to expand your skills, broaden your horizons, take your career to the next level. So those are some of the good things.
You want to talk about the bad? It's coming
I do.
up.
Yeah. Just keep hitting right. Right. Next. All right. So the bad. So with the impact actually comes the responsibilities. So you aren't just responsible for the 1 or 2 things in your current role, your technical role. Like as a leader, you're responsible for everyone who's doing those things. So if somebody does something bad, you need to manage that. If something breaks, you have to manage that. You can be more hands off, which honestly isn't great for the long term for the health of your company. You need to have like an active management for issues. So you have the responsibility, you have to own problems, you have to own team performance, you have to own budgets. It's like all on you. And sometimes it feels like the world is just too much to handle and like everything's on your back, right? And yeah, it does lead to a lot of stress. I think the last ISACA workforce study shows that like 85% of CISOs are burnt out. And the average tenure of a CISO is like 2.5 years. And this is simply because there's just too much stress. Not enough help, not enough resources.
Yeah,
Right.
it's rough.
It's rough out there. Yeah.
We want to
All right,
talk
so
about the ugly?
Oh, are we done with the bad already? I haven't been looking at how
Oh,
much
I'm
you've
sorry.
been-
Well, yeah, we got hands off tech. I'm sorry. Go.
No, it's okay. I thought I had the transitions. Anyway, then you're hands off tech. You're not as hands on keyboard. You're not doing the tech as much. You're about a layer above that. You should still be able to understand the tech and what's happening and give directions as the things are happening. But you aren't the one configuring firewalls, patching stuff, building the Docker images. Like you're not doing those things anymore, unless, of course, that's in your job description. Totally fine.
And also, I'd want to point out too, because I went through this transition. It was very scary. Yes, you're not building Docker containers and you're not, doing fun dev stuff. You don't have Python running, but you are getting further and further away from that. So your skills are getting rusty. And particularly, I can tell you when I moved into leadership, I didn't really understand Azure, right? A lot. And we moved into Azure. So then they're looking at me and they're like, oh, what are we going to do with Azure? Like, how do you, and I'm like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So it can be really, really unsettling as you begin to almost have like kind of an imposter syndrome.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the ugly. So let's go to the ugly.
Oh,
Yay.
sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Let's do it. We're running out of time anyway. All right. So number 3, imposter syndrome. There you go. So part of this really is you are going to be hands off keyboard, and so you have to continuously learn about this stuff. But since it's more abstract for you, it's more theoretical. Either you have to spend the time and learn that technology from a practitioner's standpoint, whether it's a tool or a new system or whatever, what have you. If you want that experience, you have to maintain your skills, and finding time to do that's very hard. So by the time you get to leadership, if you don't have that hands-on experience doing something, you're going to think like that other person has more experience than me. So why am I the person telling them how to secure the thing? Right. So technology is always changing. Software development is always changing, especially now in 2024, everything's abstracted away. You can like spin up a web app in 3 seconds with all the underlying infrastructure as code, by the way. And so if you aren't familiar with how tech stacks are actually doing things these days, it's really hard to actually start securing this stuff. So get your hands back on the keyboard. We'll take that time. And you're always going to have that imposter syndrome because you can't do everything. There's going to be some technology that you don't know about. And that imposter syndrome does hit pretty hard. But again, if you care enough about it, you are going to at least read the API docs or something. Like you're going to understand a little bit more about it. One of my favorite references, by the way, if you're in AWS reference architectures, fantastic resource for anyone who's just coming into a new AWS environment and you're not really quite understanding what an architecture is doing. You can take a look at the reference architectures. And by the way, they have all the services and components listed out in a secure way. So this is the right way to build an architecture for a system. And then it also gives you that narrative of what those components are doing and how the network connections are situated and how the components talk to each other and the services and stuff. So AWS reference architecture is fantastic, fantastic resource.
Have you had a chance, personal question, have you had a chance to look at Google Compute as a platform?
Like Google Cloud?
Yeah, Google Cloud.
And then the compute as part, like EC2 instances.
Yeah, Google Cloud is an AWS.
Yeah, of course. I think everyone has. Like, I actually have a joke for this. Right.
Okay.
If you want to build something fast, use Azure. If you want to build something fancy, use AWS. And if you don't want to build anything at all, use Google Cloud.
Oh my God, rough. Oh, that's brutal.
Come on, that's hilarious. Yeah, so I've worked in all 3 clouds, at least. Just building fun stuff, whatever it is, like sandbox stuff. AWS is by far, you can build the most interesting systems that do all the things. It's going to cost you an arm and a leg, but you can get it to, it's super fine-tuned. You can do like so many things to it. Azure is just really simple. You can spin up stuff, spin down stuff, and it's very vanilla. And then you got Google Cloud, which does big data very well. I think I did this one thing where I was copying like literally, was it like 90 petabytes of data? And since they have like actual access to the pipeline, right? You don't have to go through any layers of the network. It took literally 13 seconds to copy 90 petabytes of data from one of their S3 buckets to the other. And remember, S3 buckets sit on the network edge. They're not actually within, right, your private VPC, at least for AWS. So for Google Cloud, it was the same way. I was like, oh my God, I have direct access to the pipeline. And then I was connecting to servers through it was insane. I was like doing it back and forth. It's like, I can't believe it's taking, it's like 90 petabytes of data in 13 seconds. That's insane. It was copies too. It wasn't just syslings. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well, there you guys, you heard it here first. I've heard some people who went from AWS to Google, and they've said some nice things about how Google like natively will do certain naming and build up certain artifacts that are almost, you would need to set them up if you were going to build X, like you would need these other tangential parts, and Google will do that automatically. But it's great to get insights from someone who's like literally in there. Plus,
yeah, I don't love it. And watch out when you're doing your Google Compute instances. I don't know what they call it. Is it Google Compute? See, I hate it so much. I don't even use it anymore.
Well, it's GCP, yeah.
Oh, geez. Google Cloud Platform. Yeah, but they're like EC2 version, whatever their compute is. They run even when you shut them off and they start billing you for this shit. I was like, dude, I think I had like a little test environment doing whatever it was years ago. And then I thought I turned it off. And then literally I got a bill for $500 the next month. I'm like, what?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
I was pissed. So those are the things that kind of get you, even though you're on the free tier. You're not on the free tier, those greedy motherfuckers.
Yeah, no. I will say I did try to dabble in GCP, and I found their interface to be completely unusable. I was like, what are we doing here? We're running late on time, and we only got about 10 minutes left. But I did want to talk about Naomi's foundation, Cybersecurity Gatebreakers. I wanted to make sure, and I saw questions in chat y'all had, and we can get to some of those if there's time. But Naomi, this is your foundation, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
And hold on,
Nonprofit.
I want to
Yes.
get you the right. There we go. This is the one I
Thank
want.
you. Yeah, this is us, Cybersecurity Gatebreakers.
So tell
We're
us about
breaking
it.
down the gate. We're breaking down the gates in cybersecurity hiring. The whole idea is if you think about how organizations like nonprofits in cybersecurity, they're like yours. You guys focus on the people trying to break in, the people who are learning. And that's great. I love it. We need that. That's awesome. However, think about the number of foundations and organizations that focus on the hiring managers and try to educate the hiring managers. Not too many of those. So that's what we do. We educate hiring managers and security leaders on how to invest in the next generation, how to hire junior people, people with no experience, how to interview them, what to do when they get hired, like how to actually give them meaningful work so that they can learn. That's what our foundation does. It's a nonprofit. And yeah, that's it. I
So
don't
I
know more
see a
about that.
salary survey here. Is this
It's
to
okay.
collect?
We're run by volunteers. So yeah, 100% our website needs help. But in general, we do a lot of education. We speak at events just like this. We go to conferences, we talk to people. And that's what we do. We're an education nonprofit. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I see this salary survey here. It sounds like that you're trying to collect real data points from the community. It's an
Yeah.
anonymous survey to
That needs to
get.
be updated. Yeah.
Hmm?
Don't even worry about our website. Our website's out there. But what I do want from the people listening to this is assuming that you're currently in cybersecurity, you want to try bringing on that next generation. So talk to your security leaders, ask them if you can have an intern, be like, hey, for $25 an hour, we can hire somebody and teach them and they can help us clean up asset management, whatever it is. We help them kickstart their career. That'd be amazing. And then you've given someone a chance, just like someone gave a chance to you.
Yeah, no, I love it. Very righteous and interesting angle to target the hiring managers and stuff with that information.
Mhm.
Um, I'm happy to again talking about how the business doesn't always necessarily care about cybersecurity. Um, Are you finding pretty good traction with, HR and hiring managers and stuff wanting to get this information and be better informed instead of just copy pasting a
Yeah.
bunch of bullets that don't make any sense?
Yeah. They like put some actual critical thinking in. Like, here's the interesting part. It's like we are not good at hiring for people because simply that's not what we're supposed to be good at. We don't have the training. No one ever taught us how to do it. And that's okay. So that's part of the thing here that we do with Cybersecurity Gatebreakers is we're trying to educate the hiring managers on how to hire that next generation. So we are seeing a lot of good reception of our message and be like, hey, I see other people doing this. Cool. I can probably do it too. So once the security leaders see that it's okay to hire the next generation and how easy it is to do, and I've hired 4 people with no experience so far in my career, which is not a lot. I get it, but it's better than 0, right? Like, so I've hired people with absolutely no tech experience at all. I'm telling you, these people are smart. They're willing to learn. And they're pretty cheap too. I think that's kind of the goal. Like they're cheap for the business, and they can absolutely make impact day one. It's pretty amazing to see. And so once you see other people doing it, yeah, you can do it too. And so if you're sitting there in your role and you're like, hey, let's hire an intern or let's get another junior person, I'm willing to mentor them. That's what we need more of in this industry. People willing to reach out and build that next generation.
I love it. Final question. Just it's a good one. Tying back to the topic we talked about today of cybersecurity leadership and transitioning into it from a technical role.
Yeah.
Chris Cahill wants to know, like, when you're doing cross-functional teams, so you've got people who are not cyber, how do you, as a technical person, how do you overcome the challenges that come from dealing in those cross-functional teams?
Yeah, it's one of those corporate speak cross-functional teams. It's like as a security leader, every team that you interface with is not going to be your team. So you're going to be managing your function, which is great. You're going to do your things, make sure everything's awesome there. But then when you need other security things happening around the organization, you need to reach out to those people. So at all times, you're going to be really good at communication, really good at emotional intelligence, understand their priorities, talk to them like a human and not like a robot. Be friends with them. So there's a lot of skills that are going to be transferable as you move up the ladder. And remember this, it's absolutely a people thing. It's not just a technical thing. You have to convince them why they should be doing something. And if you can't do that very well, if you're not friendly, if you're just an asshole all the time, like no one's going to listen to you. And here's a personal metric I like to see. If you go into your calendar right now and just see how many meetings you've been invited to recently, like within the past couple of weeks, how many meetings have you been invited to from non-security people asking you for your advice. If it's more than one, that's great. If it's more than zero, that's great. If you have multiple meetings where people are asking you for your advice on security and asking for guidelines and requirements and things that could help do security in other parts of the business, that's awesome. You are ready to be a security leader. You are already a security leader. People see you as a leader. If you're providing that value and that advice that people need when they're building things. And again, if you're in a company that's actually building stuff, this is absolutely applicable, but it's also applicable to companies who are just selling regular products, manufacturing, finance, like things that don't really build software. I get it. You can actually do this to any company. You can provide security guidance to any company as long as you can do it in a good way. Like people are going to reach out to you on purpose. You don't have to push, they can pull.
I love it. Oh, wow. All right. So, hey, Naomi, before we get out of here, what kind of projects you got coming up, speaking engagements, activities, things that, people should be on the lookout for, you're excited to share with the community?
Actually nothing right now. I'm really kind of burnt out with the public speaking. Sorry, guys. Like this is probably my last one for a while. Jerry, I appreciate you reaching out to me, but I'm like, oh man, I'm done for the year. I'm done for that. Usually I shut it off at like October. But yeah, next year, maybe more opportunities to speak at different conferences. I've done half a dozen already just the past couple months, so a little burnt out, but always love trying to influence that next generation of security leaders. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And you can catch Naomi's talks. Many of them are recorded and then published on YouTube for the different organizations. I know Wild West Hackin' Fest, you just spoke there this year as well as last year. So those talks are going to be there. And your DevOps talk, I usually pull, it's not from Wild West Hackin' Fest, it's from another place. So if you enjoyed Naomi's thoughts and leadership and guidance and insights, there's a lot more Naomi out on the YouTubes for you to consume. If you're interested in connecting, Naomi, would this be the best way for people to connect with you?
Oh, sure. I hate LinkedIn so much with a passion, but if you just send me a message on LinkedIn, I think I accept just randos messages. I usually try to like respond, not always, but if you want to connect with me, just send me a message. Happy to chat a little bit. Can't guarantee you all my time, but
No, but I mean, if you're posting on LinkedIn or something, they could see what's coming
oh
up.
yeah, good point. Yeah, good point. Guys, LinkedIn is part of the game. If you want to build up a brand or profile, absolutely you have to play the game. And I don't love it. I know LinkedIn kind of sucks. It's super cringy, but it's part of the game. So you have to see the game for what it is and just play with the rules that you can see. It goes
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're just right at time, which is super phenomenal.
FedEx says I don't accept the connections. Yeah, that actually it's because you have to have my email address, don't you, in order to do that. Yeah, I don't know how to get around that. I'm actually on the whatchamacallit. There's 30,000 connections that you can have. I'm like right on the edge of that. So whatever.
Okay.
You guys just
Make any more.
Send me a DM. At least you should be able to send me a DM. I think that's possible. And then I'll just connect. I'll click the connect button on your profile. There you go.
Perfect. All right, cool. So we've been talking today with the very talented and the very kind and generous Naomi Buckwalter. We talked a lot about transitioning into cyber leadership roles, but I feel like we went around the horn, if you will, on a couple other topics that definitely added value. If you enjoyed this, definitely share this with people in your socials so they can get the value from it as well. On behalf of the entire Simply Cyber community, Naomi, we want to extend you a heartfelt appreciation and thank you for taking your time to be with us today. And we genuinely look forward to the next time that we can talk with you.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. All right, everybody, be well. And until next time, stay secure. Content. Keep the cybersecurity train going by connecting with the other Simply Cyber community resources. We have the Discord server that's lively and always keeps the conversation going. You can connect with me directly on LinkedIn. And also every single weekday morning on the Simply Cyber channel, we're doing live daily cyber threat briefings, 8 a.m. Eastern time, as well as Thursday at 4:30 p.m. We're doing live stream interviews with industry experts, and we produce videos that we push out every Wednesday